Hey everyone, thanks for coming by. I do understand that it's 10:30 in the night on the middle of the GDC. To be honest, didn't expect so many people, but yes, happy to be here. Thank you for stopping by. Um, just to understand, I think to start with, how many of us here are game developers? Okay, two of us. How many play games? The rest. Okay, perfect. One of the things which when I started playing games, was to do is how do I complete a mission? Where do I go? Where do I do things? And many a times, I used to get stuck, frustrated, not knowing what was I supposed to do and what am I supposed to do the next, right? And when I started developing games, what happened on the other side? I probably created a mission which wanted people to probably go to the left side or collect some coins. But what ended up happening was they used to go somewhere else. Are they supposed to collect something else or doing something else, right? So essentially, lot many times, we don't see what our users are supposed to do. We expect them to do something like a X, and they end up doing Y. And today, I'm here to present MotionMix, which essentially simplifies to understand and see exactly what the users see as a game developer. So as a game developer, what we do is, hey, don't worry about complex analytics. Don't worry about numbers. Just go and see every session where users are moving around and derive from it. So introducing MotionMix, it's a spatial slash scene analytics platform where we as developers can see exactly what our users are seeing, right? So before that, who are we? We've been building on Unity and 3D space for the last 8 years. We've been software developers and been working in the industry for almost 20 years now. We started as almost creating an interior design platform where people can use Unity to visualize their homes. And when we created a similar experience for virtual reality, we launched a similar application on Oculus Store last year. We tried to give the application to both the Meta team and to our users. And the feedback what we used to get was, hey, I can't click here. I can't find the button. So how do you understand what they're doing, especially in virtual reality, right? You give them a headset, they're wearing the headset, they are trying to see something which you don't know what they're seeing. Now, it's so impossible for them to communicate what they're seeing and, hey, did you see that screen? Are you seeing that something else, right? So that's where the entire visualization came into picture, where we started recording sessions to show to other people, and that's where the genesis of MotionMix happened. So this is some of the analytics what we used to see after we launched the app. And trust me, this is more like Greek and Latin for us. We look at the numbers, okay, there is 1,000 downloads. There are sessions which is like 5 minutes each. What do we do with that? Unless we don't know how it is actionable, it's very difficult to see how to implement it. If I know my users are getting stuck in tutorial, how do I move to the next one? Are people doing tutorial doing better in the game? Or the people who don't do tutorial are getting stuck? So I think that's something which we wanted to uncover. So why is it important that something beyond numbers is there, right? Numbers doesn't say all the story. It only says what happened. It never says why it happened. Just an example. Let's say 1,000 people played the game. 300 people didn't proceed beyond, let's say, tutorial. The rest 300 people didn't proceed beyond level 1. But it doesn't say why 600 people got off the game without even continuing or enjoying the game, right? So what we do over here is show where do they get stuck, what do they do on two things, and why is this a frustration? What is the signals? And where is the confusion? That's exactly what we're trying to do. And especially if you look at any type of in-app purchases, a lot of free-to-play games, especially who work with us, would like to understand where is the treasure? Why are my people not discovering the treasure, right? So it could be a large map, but maybe that portion of the map where the treasure is there is not discoverable. So is it fair to say that that portion of the map is not interesting? Maybe it is, just that they couldn't know where it exists. So make it more discoverable. So that's one of the things which you're doing, right? So this is where the entire genesis happened for us. We started as a VR developer. We couldn't understand what our players were doing, and the numbers could only help us who left, who stayed. But why they stayed or why they left, it never told us. I think that's where we started working on this. I think more than talking, it's easier to show a demo. I think probably I'll just show something which is actual game to start with. So this is a game which is a normal desktop game, which is a racing kart. The first one, where there are users who are going around collecting coins and finishing levels. The second game, which I'll be showing, is more of an interior design application or a gamification, which is live on the Oculus Store, which is something we've done, where the user is interacting using joysticks, the headset, and everything else, right? Now, how do you know, are they able to complete the stage? Are they in the track or not? Where do they get stuck? Why do they exit the game? So this is what we wanted to show in a much more realistic way for the users. So I'll just pause this. So what you see over here is, okay, I don't think it's that visible. Let me see if I can do something else. So the game what you saw over here is the interior design game. It has been represented in a point cloud data. So what we do is we just collect data where it is transformed to understand where the users are moving around. So it shows exactly where the user is interacting with the 2D screens. Where do they click? Is the screen visible to them or not? And even if you look at over here, the user is moving around the room trying to use different objects. There is 2D heat maps. I'm just probably just show it again over here. Yeah. So over here, once they start using the thing, so it provides location heat maps, it provides exit heat maps. Where do they exit the game? Is it a place where they were supposed to usually exit or not? It also provides 2D heat maps, it provides session heat maps, location, events, movement, everything, right? So as a developer, now I can understand, okay, is there any problem with my multiplayer games? Is there any sessions which I want to see which is spent more than 3 minutes, 5 minutes? So as and when I discover, based on different levels and the time they have played, we can start improvising on the games. So this is one of the example which we have over here. The second one is, so this is a large map in which people are moving around, and it again provides more into the location heat map. So if you look at over here, this is a large space, and this is the type of field of view. And this is a very small area where most of the users are spending time. But if you look at over here, given that there is so much space around, why is that my users are only spending a time in this corner, right? So maybe that corner is important, fine. And there's a lot of action over here. In that case, should I actually concentrate more of my resources to build things here and probably ignore the rest of the spaces? Or make the rest of the space discoverable? I think an example for this is, okay. So just to come to that, right? So now to understand whether it is interesting or not. So this is another example from a Battle Royale game where it's a large map where the users are spending time only in the leftmost quadrant. Now, it's easy to say that the rest of the map is not interesting. However, I'll just probably look at here. Yeah. So if you look at the heat map, this shows that the users are only in this particular corner, whereas the rest of the map is not being explored. Now, is the rest of the map is not interesting or not? It's not, right? Because the thing is, it has not even been explored. Unless they don't explore it, it's very difficult to write off the entire map. So in this case, what the developers can do is maybe they can make the rest of the map discoverable before saying that it's not interesting. So this is another example which we've done with Imposter game, which is more of a multiplayer game. Now, many a times when people play the game, typically if it's something which is a tutorial or not, or is the game becoming more engaging once you have, say, more than 2 players, 5 players. So here we can start observing based on that. Hey, can I look at sessions which has more than 3 players? Can I look at sessions which is more than 5 players? So this is an example where you have 8 players over here, and they keep moving around the space. So is the engagement increasing? Is the actions increasing? So understanding those aspects becomes a lot more important. So it's getting to know our users firsthand and trying to do it. Imagine sometimes when you do playtest, right? So it also has the information around how it gets the performance improves or decreases over time. So these are just 4 examples which I want to just cover, essentially around tutorials, multiplayer, long sessions, and these are the different use cases which works for us. We've also integrated with error logs and Sentry and things. So for example, if the game crashes at some point in time, or if there are 5 users who are doing and suddenly the performance takes a hit, it also tells us where the errors are happening, where is the performance going down, maybe the frame rate per second, or the number of issues. Everything gets recorded along with the session. So if you're watching a session for 2 minutes, and you know after the first minute, 80% of your players left, we know exactly what happened over there. So where is Motion Mix being used today? There are 3 typical use cases which we do it. One is playtest. I'm sure you would have seen outside in the demo tables, a lot of games are doing playtest. You can probably do playtest with 10 people, 20 people, maybe during GDC, or maybe during different events. What if the playtest is not the right representation of your actual users? Maybe your users are in Brazil, they're in Spain, maybe they're using internet which is probably not broadband. So how do you understand how users' behavior happens and how your game is performing in real condition, right? So I think that's something which we can enable. So maybe I'm sleeping right now, but my users are playing it. Tomorrow morning when I get up, I can actually come back and see all those sessions. So what we can enable is, it can enable playtest at scale, look at any number of sessions, look at any number of multiplayer things to understand different geographies, different internet connection, different firewalls. Every use cases can be covered. The second most important thing which typically has been used is, especially in free-to-play games, most of the free-to-play games always depend on in-app purchases. The main goal is to attract as many users as possible, and once they make the purchases is when game developers make money. When you spend so much time to attract users, if more than 60% of your players actually quit even before they finish the tutorial, and an equal number leave even before finishing one minute of a game, what's the use? I think that's a place where we want to optimize. And as people continue to optimize, think of this way, right? I optimize the game for the first 3 minutes of playtime. There's no issues. Now, I want to relook at my game after 3 months. I come back after 3 months, first 3 minutes is fine. For some reason, no one is passing the second level. There is a pattern which is emerging. So there is also global heat maps. You can see that 80% of my users are dying in this particular corner. 50% of my users are trying to lift a weapon, and somehow it is not coming into the hand. What is the reason? Because when you look at normal data analytics, it says, okay, 80% of users quit the game after 3 minutes, but why? No one says that. When they couldn't lift it, when they were supposed to lift it, I think that's the thing what we encounter. So typically we understand this behavior, and some of our game developers, what they're doing is using this information now, they're able to plan where should they keep the treasures. Should they make the treasures discoverable within 2 minutes, or what is the ideal time in their cases? Maybe after 2 minutes, the treasure is discovered, like maybe there is a 0.5% of them actually drop off. Maybe you can do it maybe 10 seconds before that. I think there are different ways to do it, but unless we don't experiment, it becomes very difficult. And the third most important thing is A/B testing. Think of this way, right? I released 2 different versions of a game, and I'm expecting everyone to finish a particular track, and the players who are playing for the first time, they went off track. Now, does it make sense for me to make the game easy? If I make the game easy, rest of the players who are actually playing well and are actually being challenged, they'll feel, okay, this game is not fun, I'll just leave. But at the same time, the guys who are playing for the first time, if they're stuck and they can't come back to that track, what's the use? Maybe we want to just respawn them. So it gives different ideas on how do you tackle new users versus your existing players. If I want to know what did my new users who came in yesterday did versus maybe the regular players did it. So it's more about understanding about that scenarios.
Welcome to Motion Mix Setup Guide.
Okay. I think I'll just probably play a simple video on how easy is it to integrate Motion Mix into a game. It's a plugin SDK. Just put it into any of your Unity game right now. We'll be supporting Unreal very soon. But it's just a click of a button, and every session of your user game will be recorded. I think the AI does a better job in explaining it, so I'll just play the video.
Just a few simple steps. You'll be ready to unleash the power of analytics for your project. First things first, let's learn how to access the Motion Mix Setup Guide. Click on Motion Mix in the top toolbar in Unity Editor. From the drop-down menu, select Setup. This will open the Motion Mix Setup Wizard, guiding you through the setup process seamlessly. Step 1. Configuration Setup. Begin by navigating to your Motion Mix dashboard and locate your app ID and app key under your app secrets. Once you've obtained these, enter them here in the provided fields. Step 2. Startup Scene. Choose your startup scene from the list provided and click Next. This will serve as the entry point for Motion Mix in your application. Step 3. Scenes to record now. Let's choose which scenes you want to include in your recording session. You can select one or multiple scenes from the list. Step 4. Static meshes to record. If you want to record specific static meshes within your scenes, this step is for you. Click Open next to a scene to view its static meshes. Select the static meshes you wish to include in your session. Step 5. Select Player. Lastly, if your project involves player interaction, let's designate a player object. Click Open to view the objects within the scene. Choose the game object that will represent the player in your recordings. And there you have it with Motion Mix. Setting up for game development, animation, or virtual reality projects is effortless, allowing you to concentrate on bringing your ideas to life with ease. Welcome to Motion Mix Setup Guide. In just a few simple steps, you'll be ready.
Okay, so I think we did get a fair idea on what it is. So it's quite simple. Just integrate, start recording the sessions. While it did say there are 5 steps, unless it's a multiplayer game or different sessions, everything gets recorded. Just a start of a scene, right? So events, actions, location, all the heat maps are available. Based on is it multiplayer or not, we can always choose to do it. It's quite simple to use it. It's a free tool to start with, to experiment. We also have a developer account. Imagine how this can enable us. For example, for us, it helps us reduce at least 20 to 30% of our development time, 20% of our playtest time. and once we launch it, to understand and optimize it. So it becomes a lot more easier, not just to ask people on how they are playing the game, but also observe. Many a times, what players say and what they mean could be entirely different. Sometimes I might communicate half, but there are so many things what they meant to say, they don't do it. Just an example, I was doing a demo other day at XReal. Having been a VR developer for the last 6 years, when I put on the goggles, I was supposed to navigate around. They asked me, how's the game? Somehow I felt that I couldn't give the honest feedback because I couldn't see the right screens, I couldn't do it. I started to feel that, am I dumb? I'm not able to play this game properly. How come I couldn't navigate, right? So I said, it's all right, it's fine. So it's so hard to get the right feedback many a times. So what I say versus what I experience is so different. So why not just look at what your users saw it and take decisions? Thank you. So we are working with a few VR developers, desktop games, and other games right now. We just came out of our beta a few months ago. Would love to partner with more games to understand and build the things from here. We are around. If you have any questions, happy to say and happy to chat in general. Thank you.